downtown where you can get a date for 50, 60, 70, even 80% off the original social marketplace price.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS Runway of Doom. The goddess next door struts her stuff on the catwalk to take on a runway of rogues in this action-packed all-new ISIS series adventure. Get your copy of ISIS Runway of Doom at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere.
Better get the coleslaw, y'all, cause we're having us a barbecue.
Black woman went viral on social media for saying if a couple is living in a regular home instead of a luxury property, the man is a loser and not a provider.
Living with the man, and you guys live here, you're living with the provider. If you're living with a man and you guys live here, you're living with the loser. If you're living with a man and you guys live here, you're living with the provider. I repeat, if you're living with a man and you guys live here, you're living with a loser. So ladies, now that we got that straight, what type of man are you living with? A provider or a loser?
Now, in this video that went viral on social media, this Jade Cargill wannabe looking chick with a bad platinum dye job stands in front of several different types of properties and says that a man who lives in a regular home instead of luxury properties like she shows is a loser and not a provider. And this woman, from what she has said, basically shows me that she definitely is one of these black women who comes from a single mother household and definitely has a miseducation that she's received from watching too many Madison Avenue advertisements, watching too many Hollywood movies, and watching too many soap operas and other types of dramas growing up. And as she's grown up in that home without a father, she's basically become one of these women who's definitely not on a road to living in one of those luxury properties, but is on a road to a paradigm of failure, like I talk about in my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. And this woman definitely is on the road to becoming one of those black women who will be single because she doesn't appreciate anything a man goes out here and looks to provide for her. No, that's shown by the way she stands and says, oh, she wants that a man has to have a luxury property to be considered a provider to her, and clearly shows me that this woman never had a father in her life, because if she had a father in her life, she would know how hard it is for a man to go out here and provide for a woman and the entire family. And she would know this because she would be in a home where she would see her father coming home real tired after a day of work and understand the pressures that man would have to deal with just trying to just get up to go to work. Because when it comes to black men, when we go out here and look to go to work, we're basically worried if we're going to be able to live to see the next day, because we know that if we get up and get out there and go on the road to travel, we might possibly not be able to make it because we might run into a cop that may stop us if we are on the road, or if we're taking mass transit. We got to worry about not only a cop, but we also got to worry about a pookie coming at us looking to start some mess with us. And then if we do survive that trip on the bus or the train or even in a car, we got to worry about going to work and possibly being able to keep the job we got. because that's when we got to deal with ratchet coworkers looking to get us fired. And then we also got to worry about a boss if he does get mad about them not having no dark roast coffee at the deli downstairs or across the street, or them not having no everything bagels, or having an argument with his wife looking to take it out on the black man. That's the eggshells black men walk on when we go out here looking to stay at a job. And after that, we gotta then, if we do survive that shift and keep our job, we gotta worry about getting back on that bus or that train or in that car, and worrying about whether either the police look to stop us or worrying about some pookie looking to get into it with us. That's the obstacle course a black man goes through before he even, again, goes to work and comes back from work, has to deal with. And then on top of it, he got to deal with this black woman in many cases who is extremely ungrateful, don't appreciate anything that this man is doing. And as he's out here doing this, many times he got to work overtime and do double shifts just to keep the bills paid on a studio apartment that costs $3,000 a month. And that's what he's doing out here, as in many cases, many brothers out here basically making anywhere from $35,000 to maybe $55,000 a year at best. And as they're out here, they're working to try to keep a place or a roof over their head. But this woman wants to say if a person lives in a regular home instead of a luxury property, the man is a loser and not a provider, not understanding the racism that man goes through as related to the obstacle course to get whatever job they have and keep that job. That man is basically doing everything he can to try to keep whatever he has. And this woman doesn't understand the struggles a black man goes through as related to trying to provide just basic amenities for himself. Just to try to provide the basic amenities for himself as related to trying to maintain that studio apartment, that black man got to run through an obstacle course, walk on eggshells, just to keep the roof over his head. But to this black woman, that black man is a loser, and he's a loser if he's living in a regular home. And this woman clearly shows me she has not seen the housing market in this country to understand how hard it is to buy a home, because in these days, basically, it's really that much harder to buy a home than it was in the 1980s, because in the 1980s, you could basically buy a home for anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 and basically work a job making $50,000 a year. And in 20 years, you had your house paid off. But these days, houses that are basic cost $500,000, and the ones that are luxury cost anywhere from $5 to $20 to even $100 million. So you're asking a black man who basically has struggled all his life to try to maintain a $35,000 a year job to go out here and look to buy $1 million homes that are basically out of his price range to be considered a provider to you. And this is the kind of delusion that many modern black women have, like this Jade Cargill wannabe looking chick, where you're not understanding the reality of the world we're living in, where the average everyday American basically can't even afford to even think about buying a regular home, because the average everyday home, basically, again, I'll repeat it once more, a basic average everyday home costs anywhere from $500,000 or $500,000 to $1 million to $2 million. And you're asking a man who is out here struggling to, again, make anywhere from $35,000 to $55,000 to be considered a provider if he buys you $1 million homes. That in and of itself, again, shows the complete cognitive dissonance that this woman has and the complete distortion of reality that she has, and shows how this so-called helpmeet is nothing but a hindrance to a man, because you're asking to say that this man, if he doesn't give you this luxury home, he's a loser in your eyes, when instead you should be counting your blessings if a man has enough money to even just go out here and keep the roof over his own head. The way I see it, as someone who worked with homeless adults back 25 years ago, you should be grateful you have a roof over your head as related to things and the money to be able to keep it up. You should be grateful to have just that. If a man can just do that in and of itself, that's a feat in and of itself in this economy. If a black man can go out here and after dealing with all the white supremacy and racism to get a job and keep a job and be able to get his own place, that in and of itself is a feat, because these days when it comes to even getting a studio apartment, a black man basically got to pay an application fee of $500. He got to do a background check for another $300. He got to have first and last month's rent, and the deposit, which is about $20,000. And that's just to get a studio apartment. But this woman would call that man a loser, even though he would have had to have gone out here and again saved money living at his mama's house for about 10, maybe 15 years, due to the way we have this delusional and insane process as related to trying to get a basic apartment. And then on top of that, she wants this man not to have a home, but to have a luxury property. And that's where I say this woman is just as completely delusional as the women I've seen in the China Unvarnished videos and the All Asian Dilemmas videos, where I've seen Asian women come at many Asian men with the same type of delusion, sitting there thinking about getting themselves a luxury home, thinking that this man is going to provide them with a high-class lifestyle, and shows me again what happens when your daughters don't understand their roles as women and don't understand the struggles their fathers go through. No, what happens here is that when your daughter is out here and she's just sitting up in the home, watching a whole bunch of soap operas, reading a whole bunch of romance novels, watching a whole bunch of movies, she's not seeing the struggles that a man goes through in this world in order to make a living. And these type of women basically see any type of working class guy as a loser because they don't appreciate what's being provided for them. And because they don't appreciate what's being provided for them, what they do is look down on the very man, like their father, who's given them a better life than they had, because this father, in and of himself, he's the one working double shifts so that they can send you to a private school so that you don't have to get a substandard education, so you don't have to be around Sharkeisha and her girls looking to start with you, or Pookie just keep coming in your face, and even though you done told him you're not interested and will not take no for an answer. I mean, he worked out here and kept you out of that toxic environment, but you don't appreciate those little things that dad did for you. And since you don't appreciate what dad did for you, you can't appreciate what a man did for you. And because you can't appreciate what a man did for you, you can't appreciate what a man is working for as he's trying to build. And as he's trying to build, you can't see what this man is trying to work for. And that's what this woman is showing, a textbook example of this. You don't appreciate how much work this man is putting in every day as he's trying to, again, navigate this toxic obstacle course of racists, of ratchet coworkers, of police officers, of pookies out here. He's got to go into a war zone just to bring home a paycheck. And as he's trying to go through that war zone, you're telling him what he's providing just ain't good enough for you. You're telling him that, the basic house that he basically worked to try to get, because Basically, it's hard to, again, get an apartment in and of itself due to the frustrating process. And then on top of it, what this woman don't know is that in order to buy many of these basic properties, you can't get no mortgage anymore. That's what my family member found out when we were looking at different places. You can't get no property with no mortgage anymore. No, when it comes down to property these days, if you want to get a house, you got to have all the cash up front. And many of the owners won't even think about even looking to sell to you if you don't have the cash up front. And you do know how hard it is to, again, amass $100,000. I mean, not even the $500,000 these people are asking. How hard it is to amass $100,000 over the course of time. I mean, this woman, again, has not lived in a world where you've had to actually work for a living. That's what it's shown by the statements she's making. This woman has not lived in the real world with the rest of us as related to no understanding how hard it is to, again, for one person to get $100,000 together, let alone getting $500,000 to $1 million together. I mean, if you're working one of these jobs and you're only making anywhere from $35,000 to maybe $55,000 a year, you know how hard it is to go out here and make $500,000 to $1 million just to be able to pay for one of these houses. Critical question I gotta ask this woman. I mean, if you knew how hard it was to go out here and make money, you wouldn't be calling no man no loser if he goes out here and buys a regular property. No, I call that man a winner because I know the obstacles this man had to go through, especially if he's a brother. A black man basically got to go through all sorts of hell just to even, again, keep a regular job. And then on top of that, as he's going out here, he got to deal with women like this who basically have their heads up their asses. And as he's got to deal with these type of women, again, they don't appreciate a single thing that this man does for them. I mean, this man going out here and, again, working himself into the ground, working double overtime. In some cases, if they do allow it at his job, or he working double shifts just so he can keep the job that he has. Because if he says or does the wrong thing, he can be fired from that job at any time. That's the minefield that black man got to go through. But that's a loser in this woman's eyes, because in her eyes, she's caught up in the delusions of Madison Avenue in Hollywood, possibly thinking she gonna get some sort of NBA player or some sort of white guy as related to swirling and divesting, and he's gonna provide her this dream life. And this is the type of delusion that many black men we got to deal with when we enter the social marketplace. When we enter the social marketplace, this is the type of delusional chick we got to deal with, who basically is thinking that she's going to be like one of these white women. That's why she got this really bad Jade Cargill looking blonde hair on her head. She want to be like one of these white women, and is basically coming off like one of the Karens, because she basically want to have the world the way she wants it, and doesn't ever consider the man out here looking to try to provide for them, doesn't consider that man and consider the hardships and struggles this man got to go through, don't consider the things that he has had to sacrifice, because she's basically one of these spoiled chicks, a spoiled chick basically on the road to the paradigm of failure that I talk about in my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, because most of the black women who think like this, they usually can't find a man, and they can't find a man because their whole perception of men is completely distorted from reality. And since they're not living in reality with the rest of us, they can't see the real black men out here who are working every day or trying to get something going like myself. They can't see the struggles we go through. No, for them, they don't understand what hardships a man got to go through just to get a little bit in this world. No, they've got their eyes in the skies looking at a higher value prize, thinking that there's some sort of high value man out here who don't exist, don't understand that so-called perfect man that Madison Avenue in Hollywood present to you on the S-curl box, basically that's a social construct meant to keep you on the hamster wheel, thinking you gotta work to get it yourself, and keep you from being able to live the abundant life that Christ wants you to live. He wants to keep you from being able to have the life that God wants to give you, because God wanted to give the black woman a man, but the whole thing is that she wants a fantasy that the devil created that does not exist. She wants a delusion that's created, and many of these women all over the world, not just black women, but Asian women and Hispanic women and white women have bought into these delusions, and they don't see how the devil basically uses these delusions to keep them single, and as they're single, they're basically chasing this dream of this so-called ideal provider who does not exist, in a world where the average everyday man makes $35,000 to $55,000 a year if he's lucky, and basically is trying to do his best to pay $3,000 a month or $2,000 a month for a studio apartment. Basically, the average everyday man out here just trying to make ends meet the best way he can. But that's why many of these men basically would rather stay to themselves, like I've seen in the China Unvarnished videos and the All Asian Dilemmas videos, because they would rather be alone than rather to have a woman be a hindrance instead of a helpmeet. They'd rather be alone and have a little peace by themselves rather than be miserable in the company of a woman who's got her head in a magazine or caught up in some sort of newspaper or TV show, trying to live a lifestyle that does not exist, that is basically scripted entertainment and is not possible for anyone to live. This is why many men basically are rejecting marriage, because the women basically have a whole completely, again, distorted picture of men and a distorted picture of what a man can provide for them, because in their eyes, the average everyday working man is a loser if he provides the basics for that woman, and she's looking to live a lifestyle far beyond the means of the average everyday working man and woman, and that's what she wants to live. And that type of delusion cannot be fulfilled by any man. And I would even dare to say even God couldn't please these women. He couldn't please these women because they basically have an idea in their heads that there's no way even God could go out here and fulfill. If we look at Jada Pinkett Smith, we can see that, again, Will Smith basically gave Jada Pinkett everything. And even then, she wasn't satisfied. That's why I would say even God couldn't satisfy this woman. And women like this don't see how their mindset is the thing that's basically going to have them in a place called Bust Downtown in the paradigm of failure, and will wind up the majority of women inside of that Bust Downtown in that apartment with looking out with a great view of the graveyard as they're basically out here in their last days, realizing that they missed out on the abundance of life as they wind up a majority of the black women out here who are single. Now, if you want to learn how women like this wind up getting caught up in a paradigm of failure, you can pick up my book, The Woman Crisis, on Amazon.com, along with my other book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. And in both of those books, I explain why many women like this never find any peace or joy in life and wind up caught up in a paradigm of failure where they never find any sort of satisfaction in life, even though they've got everything in the world that God wants to give them. And you can find those books on Amazon.com, Google Play, and other online big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And those books have transformed the lives of both men and women and given them perspective and understanding of how relationships are actually supposed to work and the obstacles that keep many black men and black women from coming together and getting close to each other. And if you want to see me make more videos taking delusional women like this to the barbecue, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, An Offer He Can't Refuse. The man who rules the world gets a job offer he can't refuse in this action-packed all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' An Offer He Can't Refuse at Amazon.com and other online booksellers. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. Take a trip into the macabre world of goth modeling in the new millennium in this spooktacular Spinsterella story. Pick up your copy of Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback. From the author of the critically acclaimed book, The Man Crisis, comes The Woman Crisis. Learn why so many women have become lost in their quest to have it all in The Woman Crisis. Get your copy of The Woman Crisis in paperback at Amazon.com and online booksellers today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.